You could have heard this episode 48 hours early on our Patreon, patreon.com/indieheadspodcast. By joining us for as low as $1 a month, you'll see episodes early and gain access to our Discord server. All of our upcoming episodes will be up on our Patreon 48 hours before it hits our public podcast feeds. But if you're hearing this via our Patreon feed, we thank you so much for your support. We especially want to thank our Real Ones patrons, including Becca Etienne, Georgia Mikowski, Delaney Miller, Rihanna Cruz, Josiah Duncan, Janelle Fleur, Matt Cameron, Grant in the Back of My Dragula, Pablo Escobar's Hippos, Jackson Christ, Alec Felder, Jeremy Bull, Marcy Anime, I Like Books, Jonathan David, Sarah Moore, Max Kapazinski, Mark Barry, Aaron Hilsamer, Darian Fisher, GRS420, Cal 50, Certified Dave Matthews Cream Pie Baby, Chris Wade, Jacqueline Cottaga, Midwest Maxwell, Kevin John, Jake Wald, Eraserhead Baby, Rob Marino, Max, Dylan, Sandy Nemo, Waffle113, Gavin 490 Freak, and Maze Farms. To become a real one, consider supporting us for $5 a month on Patreon or receive a bonus episode every month and get a shout out at the top of the pod. Anyways, though, enjoy the episode.
So yeah, there's this like really.
I'm riffing. I'm warming up. It's kind of been a long night. I just want to spirited away
because his dad actually is
my favorite movie of all time. And then so
a lot worse.
Happened to me is over the pandemic, I got really obsessed with Matty, and I got. Yeah, you want to make sure you got Matty up. In the monitor here. Matty up in the monitor. I was poisoned. 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 1, 2, 3, 4.
Love this one.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 197 of the Indieheads podcast. I am your victim for the evening, Maddie Monroe. And I'm here with Rose and AJ and a very special guest, finally on the pod. Probably should have been on the pod a long ass time ago. Jacktiggs, aka the founder of the Indieheads subreddit, and the man who gave me the opportunity of a lifetime by dealing with publicists for the last 5 years. Jack, welcome to the pod. Long time coming.
Yeah, hello. I'm super excited to finally be on. I feel like I finally have a topic that I can actually talk about for like 8 hours in a row. So I started Indieheads, but became much more of a deadhead, I feel like, especially the last couple of years. But yeah, thanks for having me on. And I'm glad I got to have you start sending out hundreds of emails for AMAs all those years ago to get you prepared for the music industry.
Yes, but if you picked up from what Jack said, it's finally happening. We are doing a jam band episode. Rose, who put together this playlist all together?
We have a lot of contributions from Jack and Gavin and other folks in the chat were the impetus for me being able to complete it. But I started the idea, specifically, I was just we need to do a jam band episode, guys. I'm thinking it's on the dial. And I said, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to make this playlist. And I started with 2 songs. The first was a Gavin suggestion and the second was my choice. And I knew we had to have my choice. And so the first song, Gavin's suggestion, was Phish's cover of the barbershop classic Hello My Baby, and then the other one, which I put on the opposite end of the playlist, and we will be starting with it, is Jamflowman by Twiddle, one of the most important songs ever made, really. I mean, just listen to that.
Matty just fired us right in. Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah, we're just again, the quicker the better. I want this to be over as soon
the thing
as
about
possible.
this episode is, even though most of the songs we're talking about are over 10 minutes long, I feel like this episode could just be barely an hour because there's not much to say about all of these songs except man, this rocks, this rips. So good.
Yeah, I wonder why we're doing an episode on it then.
Because they rock, because we need to jam band fill the rest of the podcast.
Can we just, I could literally do 20 minutes on this song. This song is fucking insane. Mainly just the fucking voice he does, Jamflowman, don't give it, man.
I mean, if you asked me, you were who's singing this song? I wouldn't say the band Twiddle. I would say this is Jack Black doing a bit.
It really is. It's the world's most advanced Jack Black voice bit.
Yeah.
I feel like this song sounds like somebody doing a satire of jam band music, you know? Like it's somebody,
I
especially and then like dropping into that like little reggae beat and
it's so tasteless. It's beautiful.
Most of the modern songs we're gonna talk about on this episode have like, a specific genre influence, and this is the crossover of ska and jam bands. Like the slap, they're slapping the bass. I'm skanking to this song. You know what it is.
I'd love to see somebody skank at a Twiddle show.
I would love to go skank at the Twiddle pit.
Listen, instead of Pitchfork next year, I think we know what we got on the agenda.
What's that?
We're going to a Twiddle show. We're all going to the nearest.
We're all getting on the bus and following Twiddle around.
That's how we're gonna get the Indieheads podcast finally doing live shows. Is we're gonna open for Twiddle.
In the lot at the Twiddle show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, God.
We're going to sell shrooms. Yeah. We're going to cancel the Patreon, sell shrooms to found our trip around the country to follow Twiddle around.
I just hurt myself. I just accidentally banged my funny bone against my desk.
Matty,
I feel like that was my body telling me to hurt myself and get me out of this episode.
Yeah. First, you reject the word of GavMax Incorporated, and now you're taking our business ideas unseriously.
GavMax Enterprises for one, Rose. Get it right.
I said GavMax.
You said you said GavMax, but you didn't say Enterprises. You said GavMax like Entertainment or whatever. I'll roll back the tape. Prove you made a snafu.
You don't need to do that.
But look, here's the thing. If y'all want to do a jam band podcast, like tailgate some dead shows or whatever, that's on you. Don't include the Indieheads podcast branding, otherwise I will sue you.
I've been telling everyone at every show.
Actually, hold on for a second. I think I actually have the copyright originally for Indieheads, being the person who created it, so I could actually revoke it from you, Matty.
Well, everyone's been saying we need to change the name of this podcast for like the last year or so. So maybe this is the impetus to finally do it.
Welcome to the Deadhead podcast.
This episode is fucking brutal for me. Jackie was supposed to be originally on this episode, but Jackie had to drop out. They just were busy and couldn't be on the pod.
And the jams were too strong.
My original plan was that I was just gonna be a producer. Like I was just gonna be here and just be producer and just not say anything and just chill out. But now I have to play the heel of this episode, and I was forced to listen to this playlist twice.
I like how we're gonna listen to the whole song and render this an unlistenable
instead of going to like a Papa
episode.
John's and getting food poison, like someone put a hair in my food. I was sonically poisoned by this playlist. This is one of the most brutal. This is one of the most brutal ones that. Here, I survived the car commercial #1s.
That's right.
And this is one of the most brutal playlists that I've had to listen to for an episode.
Matty, you let me know if you want to talk about the new Muse album instead, because we could do that too for a little bit.
Honestly, I'd be fine with that. I'm okay with that.
Matty, there was an interlude.
I'm numb to you talking about Muse at this point, AJ. It doesn't bother me.
We have an
like
interlude.
Alex and Gavin, it's way worse for them than for me.
It's post-punk theme.
Yeah, we're about halfway through this song, and they've just brought in the piano riff. So do you hear that? Back into the chorus, the seamless transitions on this.
Yeah.
Like, I think I could get into. So the thing about jam bands, can we like fade the song out in the background just a little bit? I'm worried that only anyone's going to hear us the song. The thing about jam bands is that like the studio recordings are often not what you're going for. So this is off of their 2007 album, National Evolution of Consciousness, which I'm not familiar with, which I haven't listened to because I'm not a Twiddle head, but I like this song. It's the first time I've heard it listening to this podcast. I'm not a Twiddle head. We're going to talk about more of the bands that I'm into on this one, but this was good. I liked the recording. I would love to sort of hear what they do with it live and how they incorporate some of the
I gotta look up their set list and see if like Jamflowman is like a regular staple there.
The piano riffs. I mean, it's like one of their.
It's one of their most streamed songs. I know.
It's one of their more popular songs. This kind of seems like their album. I'm really unfamiliar with Twiddle. I'm sure they play like a lot of the festivals and stuff.
So their last show, that it was their second song, and apparently have a Layla tease in it. It's according to setlist.fm. So teasing the song Layla.
They're from Vermont, which is, an essential jam
band
state.
They haven't played in a lot of other shows recently. Like, that's been an exception.
Jamflowman gonna harass out. If Jack Black could do a cover of this, if they could bring Jack Black out for this song, that would probably be, an unmissable show.
I so agree. Like, we need to make this happen. He needs to be playing on a toy saxophone.
Yeah, I had a dream recently about going to see Tenacious D at Red Rocks, which I don't think they played. And I've been to Red Rocks, but never seen a show there. I went in the middle of November when I visited Colorado, and the stadium was just open, so I walked around in the seats, but there was like no show, and it was the middle of the day. But I was like, this is a cool ass venue. And then like 2 weeks ago, I had a dream about seeing Tenacious D at Red Rocks. I think it was actually they were doing like their last show ever, and so they played every song that they had ever played. This is a dream that I have. This is how fucked up my brain is. But I was like, damn, Jack Black really is a gifted songwriter and performer. And I think on this song, I know it's not Jack Black, but the guy sounds like Jack Black.
He's channeling his spirit.
Jamflowman on
like we have not expended enough time on that voice. That voice is like such a specific thing of like, not fake twang, but like fake twang adjacent. It's very.
I'm like almost
the twang is pick up the phone. He's gonna say hello, baby, and like I'm down.
Yeah. So Matty, like, what do you get from the song? What do you appreciate about it, or what do you hate about it? What is turning you off? Is this one that you like on the playlist, or is this one that really triggers you?
This is an automatic trigger right away. You have the annoying Jack Black voice, the basically directionless instrumentation. I just, here's the thing. I listened to an Emerson, Lake and Palmer song for the first time today because my friend Luke was like, hey, you should listen to this.
Dude.
And I feel like prog, again, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I feel like prog and jam band is like, it's a very close like Venn diagram where there's a lot of similarities, but I feel like there's obviously key differences there where I feel like prog is a lot more like, all right, we have a direction. We are like, we have a plan.
They kind of evolve from the same place is the thing. Like,
yeah,
but like prog, like jam bands are more about like finding the direction as you go, kind of. Whereas prog, at least like they can wander, but they never like go that far off the tracks. I feel like
yeah, and I think that's kind of what's killed me about a lot listening to this playlist is that like I am someone who likes structure. I like I like sort of I don't mind a long song. I mean, again, some of my favorite songs the last couple of years have been very long songs. But this is a case where I feel like these bands are jamming and I feel like there's no payoff. There's no like, I'm not getting like a good emotional release from any of the stuff. Either it's like this song, like Jamflowman, where it's just like the central thesis of the song is like, hey, I do a funny voice and I'm the Jamflowman. It's very stupid.
He's not the Jamflowman. He's telling you about the Jamflowman. He's the legendary figure.
I need to do a live read of these lyrics because I feel like we really just won't appreciate it until we have the
it starts turning into like onomatopoeia for me listening to the song.
It's so magical. Have you heard of the Jamflowman's jam? Sickest and the quickest hands in the land. Got that shit down real nice. He'll play his jam and he won't think twice. Now the Jamflowman don't give a damn. Playing shows across the land.
Oh, fucking course these guys look like.
Jam, playing a fat old reggae jam.
Everyone in Twiddle has a chin strap, it looks like.
Jesus Christ.
Wait, hang on, I haven't seen a photo of them.
Hang on, I'll pull it up. Look at the screen. Look at these fucking guys.
Oh
yeah,
my
look
God.
at those guys.
Yes.
Someone's looking like Diet Chad Kroger over there.
Yeah, this is one of the worst ones on the playlist.
Oh wait, no, go back to that photo. Hang on. One of the bottom right.
No, this
one? No, the other bottom right. Yeah, that.
The image or the guy? Yeah, they were on
the left. What is, I
Who's
see
that guy on the right.
I think that's Jake Longstreth in the middle, and then there's Ezra Koenig. I don't know.
And we're going to talk about Ezra Koenig tonight because I've got points to bring up. I mean, like the thing about this is a great entry. This feels like a pure jam song to get us into the spirit tonight because it's got kind of everything. It's a studio recording. It really just has that, up and down fluctuation that you'd come to expect from a jam band like this. Just kind of like, to the outsiders, to the uninitiated, this feels really violent, intrusive, unpleasant, but it kind of rocks. Like the more a core tenet of jam bands is the more you sit with it, the better it gets. So the first time I listened to Jamflowman, I was like, funny song. And then today I was listening to Jamflowman and I was like, okay, these white boys are kind of kicking it. They're kind of going crazy.
See, and that's what I like about this playlist is that we could have easily like eased in Marty, and then we're just like, don't ease him in. Let's give him.
Yeah,
like,
somebody said don't ease him in.
Yeah, and then so we just like hooked up like straight pure grade jam band music straight into your veins and said,
Matty, if you'll open up your front door of your apartment, you will look and see a special package out front for you. You want to know what that is? That is a tank of nitrous oxide just waiting for you to take a hit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're all doing balloons tonight, Marty. We're in the lot. The show hasn't even started. We're still in the lot of this episode right now. Not even set one.
Negative vibes. Have you seen the fucking tagline of Bonnaroo? It's like project positive vibes.
No.
You're not helping, Rose. You're not helping.
If you want to be sober on this episode, Marty, that's fine. But you go to your designated zone. There's a tent set up for you. There's a tent set up for you outside the arena. You can go hang out there.
As Phish said,
I'm warning you with peace and love.
One show at a time,
vibrating
Marty.
with love and light, pulsating with love and light in a world gone mad.
Okay, so what I'm gathering is we need to move on in the set because otherwise we're kind of wandering on this riff and I don't feel like it's going anywhere. It's one of those failed.
We can, I mean, let's add some direction to this podcast and transition into a 20-minute Dark Star.
Oh yeah, that's right. The immortal jam song, if there ever was one.
Yeah.
So
this is, I mean, I feel like we
go ahead.
I kind of forget the story here, but I feel like we talked about we had to have a Dark Star on the playlist. This isn't the longest Dark Star out there, but this is one of my favorite Dark Stars because this is the Dark Star from the Fillmore West 1969 show of the Dead, which I love the like back hour of this show because it's fucking noisy and just like distorted as all hell. The jam into Caution, into Feedback on this show is just like pure noise rock, basically. And late 60s Dead is when they were really just fucking riffing.
we'll get to another one later in this set, but like they were like really hammering hard in on like the loud and kind of more abrasive textures for them, because like I feel like afterwards they got just smoother and smoother,
Yeah, and I mean,
and like that's a residual from there being like a garage rock band first and foremost.
That's where Dead & Co. comes in too, because the thing people say about Dead & Co. as good as they are is like, they take a lot of these classic songs and they really turn the tempo down and sort of turn them into like Americana adjacent jams. And I mean, they're great. They've still got it. But when you listen to these old Dead shows, you hear how fast Jerry and Bob are playing, and just like everyone else, the energy that they're bringing in there. Dead & Co. are great, but they are, not the same band. And that's apparent.
They're old, and we just gotta accept that like that's the most they can do.
I think like when you talk about these 69 shows, you have to talk about just how much acid they were all doing at this time. Like this, like at this point, I think probably every single person on stage is dosed on acid. And I think, and like it's a small venue, they're just playing high energy shows. Like this isn't like you can't get this feel when you're playing to like 50,000 people at Soldier Field or whatever. Like, this is like small San Francisco ballrooms where, half the crowd is also probably dosed or doing something.
The Fillmore shows and the Winterland shows are like my favorite. My favorite recording is probably the New Year's Winterland show
from
that we
78.
Yeah, that we riffed on earlier, but with the 12-foot marijuana cigarette.
The 11.5-foot, no, 12-foot
marijuana cigarette.
Marijuana cigarette. What a concept.
It pains me to say, because my dad is a big Deadhead, and I almost debated on like giving him a call or texting him being like, hey, you want to give some quotes on
What's
this?
What's going on here?
It pains me to say, but I there are multiple Grateful Dead songs on this playlist. I did not like any of them. I thought they all were not very good.
You're capping.
I did not. I really did not care for these Dead songs. I'm sorry.
Marty is capping.
The smell is brimming here because it's all cap.
I just have a genuine question. I was maybe going to say this towards the end of the episode, but I feel like let's just get it out of the way now. Again, one at a time. Don't talk over each other. What is appealing about this to you? I'm not being negative. I'm not trying to come at you and I'm not trying to do a gotcha.
I
just genuinely want to know what about this like grabs you emotionally. Like, what is the appeal for you with this music?
Okay, so I will get into it here because I was actually going to discuss this during one of our earlier conversations, and then my brain kind of trailed off. So the thing about jam music that's really exciting to me is like, and like improvisatory music in general. Like I especially really appreciate like, you know, like experimental art in the more traditional modern sense, you know, where it's people like playing outside the boundaries of traditional instrumentation or notation or things like that. Like I appreciate that to a degree, but like one of the things about all improvisatory music is like, you know, it's the natural thing of improvisation where you are running, if you're doing it for a public performance, you know, people want to hear something that like appeals to their senses, you know, that like really shows that you're like trying to go out there on your own limb. And it's the idea of like the performance as tightrope act, the idea that like at any point this could completely go off the rails, but like if it doesn't, it's going to feel like the most perfect like serotonin generator that has ever been made, you know, artistically. That is the appeal to me of all improvisatory or music that feels improvisatory. Like, you know, like we were talking about prog earlier, like those are so tightly knitted arrangements that they do have that feeling that like they could fuck it up. And that's what's like crazy to me. It's just like listening to this and going like, they could fuck this up at any second, but like I've put my supreme faith in the performer. And like I feel like that devotion to it is kind of part of it. Like you get out what you put into it, like because you feel the stakes riding on you at all times when you're listening to that kind of music. And like for me, you know, like the Dead in particular was like one of my early interests for a long time because I listened to like a lot of dad rock because that's just like what my parents listened to. Like my dad was like fucking 80s deadhead, like late 80s deadhead, and he was just going around, you know, like following them forever. And I was just like, oh yeah, I'll try this, I guess. And then I was just like, oh yeah, this kind of makes sense. Like because I've always been someone who traditionally is trended towards, you know, like just stuff that tends to go more off the rails and be noisy and weird. And so like that early era, you know, like 69 through 73 era Dead was just like so appealing to me as someone who just like wanted to hear something that really, you know, was willfully adventurous. And like even though I didn't have, you know, much education and like any rock music beyond that era basically, and so that was like the craziest I could get other than like just straight up prog bands for a time. And so now, you know, I'm like the deadhead to hardcore head pipeline is real.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at.
Yeah, the way I recommend people get into the Dead is like find a song that you like a lot and then listen to as many versions of it as you can find, and you'll start to hear the minute, you know, intricacies and differences that they bring to each performance. And once you start to appreciate that, then you can start looking into shows and kind of listening to what's new and what's different every time. And then once you're hooked, you know, that's a high you're chasing for the rest of your life, because you're like, damn, what could these crazy ass white boys really do with it? And there's quite a lot, frankly.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Oh wait, go on.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I feel like, you know, with most music, you have, you know, your favorite songs, your favorite albums, and you listen to them, and it's the same every time, and you listen to those songs over and over, and you're like, yeah, I love this song, this rules. But imagine having your favorite song and there being 1,000 different versions of that song, and each of them are a little bit different. And that could be that one magical one that's still out there that you haven't heard yet, that nobody's heard yet. That's from 1968, from 1974, that somebody recorded on like a terrible like recording, but you can just hear the notes shining through. Like, I feel like that's what really appeals to me the most, is just like the sense of discovery there is, and a sense of like always there being something new and different with jam band music. Like, the best Dark Star might not even have been performed yet. Like, the best Dark Star maybe is performed by these guys who've been listening to Dead their whole lives and are coming together in a band right now. Like, that's kind of, you know, hyperbolic to say that somebody could be better than the Dead, but it's just like, that's kind of like, I feel like what you're always looking for with this type of music. And that's kind of like, as I'm taking a step back standpoint, but if I can go on my own little thing real quick, I think just agreeing a lot with like what Rose was saying, just for me, it's just, I think, especially with these longer songs like Dark Star, I really feel like they're just like masters in this era of just building and like releasing tension and just like, yeah, never knowing exactly where they're going to go. And, you know, yeah, feeling like you're at the edge of the cliff or on a tightrope. And like everybody, and like you listen to the different parts of the band, they're all kind of like working together. Like, you can hear this like now, like they went down to a spacey thing for a little bit. Now they're starting to build back up. Then there's like there might be a beautiful peaking moment, and then it all like falls away and they're back into space, and then you slowly start building back up again. So like just like those moments, and just like I feel like just having to I don't know. It's definitely jumping right into a Dark Star is not how I would first like recommend somebody get into the Dead for sure. But like,
oh yeah,
like,
definitely not.
I feel like it is kind of their most renowned song and stuff for a reason, because they just can go to so many different places, and every single Dark Star is just like completely different.
Yeah, it's like whole different world. Like if you go to a different year, you can see them kind of chasing different styles for better or worse with each iteration. And like I guess this taps into like something of my particular brain worms of like like with every band you can like every band that you get excited about, like when you get excited about the live experience, there's this part of your mind that's like, I want the perfect show, like I want to see the show with like just the right set list, and they're playing with just the right energy, and I'm like right in the crowd there, fully immersed in it. And like I feel like you can get that high, that kind of like emotional high peripherally, because like with these bands, like the main thing is like usually like with jam bands, it is a different set every night, and so like there's this idea of potentially anything could happen, not just on the moment to moment scale of like, well, they screw the song up, but like what songs are we gonna get tonight, because like they could just pull out anything. Like in a lot of these bands, like we'll get to it with the next song, but like they could even do stuff outside of their own catalog, interpretations. It's all just a matter of having that moment of like, well, this could be anything. And I think for me, it's always been the idea is just chasing the thrill of like the perfect show.
Yeah, like.
Yeah, it's like ruined. I mean, getting into jam bands has ruined a lot of regular shows for me, because you can just go usually look up the set list for a tour or a band, and then it's like, okay, well, you're gonna get the same songs. Like I would go see. I hate to do it. I would go see Arcade Fire on all 3 of their DC dates this year, but I know it's probably going to be pretty much the same set list every night. So I'm like, I'll go to one show, and it'll be fun, but I won't get the like. I would go see the Dead, I would see every date on their tour, because it's going to be different every time. And that's something that's really fun and really interesting. And some of the newer, more modern bands we're going to talk about later in the playlist, like Goose and like Billy Strings, continue that spirit where every single show is totally different. And that's kind of what's fun about being into jam bands.
Yeah, and I think like I think we can get into it during the Goose section, because it's kind of adjacent to this discussion of Goose, but like Indie's increasing jam adjacency is something I want to touch on later, because I feel like that has become very prevalent in the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot of modern representation on this playlist. We kind of started with Twiddle.
Well, I mean, even outside of like jam specific context, like I feel like there's been a very increasing convergence of the two.
Yeah, and at some point, I'm gonna put a bookmark in this conversation, but I want to talk about some of the bands that like aren't explicitly jam bands, but are really jam adjacent and have like the community around those as well. Yeah. Let's move on, Marty. Let's hit a 2-minute song for you.
Oh boy.
Okay.
So this is Phish. So, Gavin has COVID-19 and couldn't be here to talk about Phish.
I put this on because I thought Jackie was going to be on the episode, and I just wanted to do something like so specifically torturous to anybody who I know really likes this song. Because this is not one of the good Phish covers.
Yeah, it was definitely a lot, going from like this very 20-minute directionless Grateful Dead song,
not directionless,
to like, shut up, I don't give a shit, fuck you, Jack, I hate you.
Play it again, start it over.
No, I'm not doing that.
Go back to the Dark Star. We spared you a 35-minute from like basically this like 20-minute like, where is this song doing? Where is it going? Like, I don't. To like, wait, is that fucking Cannonball? Am I hearing fucking Cannonball right now? Because I'm like, I wasn't paying attention because I was working. And then be like, wait a second, this is fucking Cannonball. Who the fuck is doing Cannonball on this jam band playlist? And of course, it's fucking Phish.
Yeah,
God.
I was just like, I had to do something to like wake you people up, and I was like, I think I know just the move, and I chose a Phish cover.
Yeah,
like,
let's talk about.
Of course, I'm not unfamiliar with Phish, because we did talk about
we talked about
Tweezer. We talked about To Boot on Gavin's. Should have been.
Oh, To Boot, yeah.
Llama To Boot.
Yeah, whatever.
There should be a tweezer on this playlist. There should be like.
I wanted a tweezer. We could do 5 hours of Phish alone on this. You know.
I
wanted to know you enjoy myself too.
I know a lot.
The Cannonball cover is a great avenue for us to talk about how Phish and the Dead are kind of like, super similar but opposite ends of the jam spectrum, because Phish is inherently goofy, and that's kind of part of the fun. They do costumes and they do covers and they do novelty shows and they do really unexpected stuff, where the Dead is like, we're going to give you a great show every time, and it's going to be really tight and just really experimental and really out there and really proggy. And the Phish shows are just well, even in its looseness, it's very controlled and instrumentally consistent. And the Phish shows are just kind of like, sometimes we're going to come out and we're going to do the White Album back to back, and you're just going to listen to that.
Yeah, and I feel like that's a discussion I really want to get into, is like covering stuff, because I feel like that's taken some very interesting avenues, both partially because like most bands do like very traditional rock covers of just kind of honoring the like history, like you'll get some like Beatles tributes or whatever and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of Beatles, it's a lot of Dylan, a lot of like really old kind of bluesy stuff. Yeah, which is the Dead especially does. They'll do blues covers. They will do Howling Wolf, Chuck Berry, all that sort of stuff. And those songs are basically as integrated into their sets as some of their original material, to the point where it's like, oh right, like that's a cover.
That's not a Dead original. Would you believe it? But like I feel like it's kind of hyper accelerated in a way with like newer bands, because like there was one video I sent like months ago, and when we had a channel just for the new Big Thief album, so sometime like a couple months after, like about a month or two after the song released, there was a jam band cover of Time Escaping by Big Thief.
Yeah.
Time Escaping is literally Fire on the Mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it
wasn't Goose. Who was it?
Who was it?
It was Eggy.
It was Eggy, yeah.
I remember because I looked it up
that I'm like not super familiar with.
I was just so fascinated by this thing of like, oh, people are just literally covering like the most contemporary music possible. Like a song that was released a month ago is already getting jammed on, like, and just this idea of like culture being in flux, like the whole of rock history being integrated into this weird miasma of now.
And it's kind of funny because that's not fully like a new thing. Because actually, if you listen to some of these full Fillmore West 1969 shows from the Dead, I think it's like the March 3rd show. Their encore is Hey Jude, which like had just come out maybe like 1 or 2 years before. I don't know the exact timeline of the Beatles.
Oh man, that's crazy.
But they literally
had a Hey Jude cover. I'm very out of something.
Oh yeah, they brought it back this summer tour actually. Like they did it at a ton of shows.
Yeah, they did it. Like so, they did it in like '69, and then in the '80s, they brought it back coming out of Dear Mr. Fantasy, the traffic
they would do Dear Mr. Fantasy
into just like the na
na na na na na na, and it's good. They kill it.
See, I've not kept up with contemporary Dead beyond like that initial reunion show that they did, because like my family members were trying to get tickets, and I was just like, oh yeah, that'd be nice, I'd love to go if that happens, and like of course it didn't happen.
Well, I feel like we should bring up, me and AJ actually went to the rally Dead & Co show.
Their first post-pandemic show, and then I've seen them a few times since, and I know Jack has as well.
I have not seen them. I'm missing out here.
And I've like since listened to pretty much every Dead & Co show. I mean, it's great. I think the new blood they've brought in there is really solid. O'Teal's great. Jeff Chimenti's great on the keys. And then they have Jay Lane on. Well, no. Yeah, they've got Jay Lane filling in sometimes.
And then who's on lead guitar? He's like some no-name guy, right?
John Mayer.
John Mayer.
Right. Yeah.
John Mayer.
That's right,
yeah.
John Mayer.
Star of BJ Novak's Vengeance, John Mayer.
Is he in that?
He is in that movie. I found out because
I saw that
there's a new Half of the Bag that came out yesterday.
Oh, I saw that trailer and I was like, that looks like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
Hey, what is it?
They gave it a positive review.
Interesting.
I have no idea what it is.
It's BJ Novak's movie about true crime podcasts.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. To come back to Phish for a second, at least for this song in particular, it just went to show, hey, what if Cannonball just like really sucked? Like, what if you made Cannonball a really bad song? Because Cannonball is a song that basically lives and dies by just how tight it is as a song, where it's really just sort of like all these elements kind of coming in and out, where it's like, hey, like it's just the tension that's built throughout that song is really incredible. And it's like, hey, what if you just took out that tension and just made it like jammy nonsense? You know, like what if you just the whole
I
appeal
wouldn't
of the
even call it
song.
nonsense. It's like you can tell what they're going for, but at the same time, you just got this kind of energy of like, oh yeah, this is a little too unspooled. Like you can tell it's like picking up like a piece of really melty putty in your hands, and you can feel it like kind of trying to slip out, but you like keep trying to grab it anyway.
I want to defend.
Phish have covered tequila.
I want to defend the Phish from
Jesus
Vermont
Christ.
real quick on this. So I feel like this is just very much not a planned cover. This is a pretty famous show. It's like the Tweezer Fest show from '94, where literally the whole second set they're doing Tweezer into a song, back into a Tweezer, back into a different song, back into another song, and then like I think randomly like Trey just like landed on the chords to Cannonball, and like they had not rehearsed this or anything. So there's somehow, because I think it was literally must have been like when Cannonball was on the radio or something, I don't know, and they just like went into it completely randomly. I think it's just the one time I was looking at it that they ever played it. So I don't think we can judge this with their
That's fair. Although I do make like very suspicious eyes seeing Purple Rain on the set list after that.
Purple Rain is more common, much more common, you know.
Yeah, that scares me. Like the idea that they have attempted to play Purple Rain multiple times. You know, no disrespect to Phish, but I don't trust anybody with the Purple Man except Purple Man.
I think they played it this year even. Like Cannonball was definitely a one and done 2-minute little thing, but I think in 2022 they played Purple Rain. I might be wrong about that.
There were rumors that they played Roadhead by Japanese Breakfast as well this year, which is just like, God, that's a weird crossover.
The last played in 2012, Purple Rain, but yeah.
But yeah, this stunk, but at least it was short. It's only 2 minutes, so you know.
Yeah,
I will say this next section, at least it's short. Yeah, but that brings us to song number 4, "Wake Up from the String
Cheese Incident."
I guess we'll just have to adjust.
So this is not an Arcade Fire cover. Now.
It's the second best song called "Wake Up." I feel confident saying that. This song really, really rocks. And the String Cheese Incident is one of those bands who just... The thing about jam bands is that like once you get into one, you get into another, and then you start getting into all of them. And this is one of those bands that I think really exists on the periphery, but they're one of my personal favorites. Like they're on the same level, I think, as Twiddle and Humphreys McGee, but they're my personal favorites. I think the song is really fun, has a really cool vibe, and just demonstrates like another level of kind of what it means to be a jam band. So this is a studio recording as well, but they have, you know, really great instrumentation, really solid performances, and just like a really fun vibe to this song. So I love it. I think it's great.
Yeah, this is the one song. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I guess another question for the jam band stuff is just sort of like, it's definitely something that like is something that is better for the most part. It seems like it's better executed live than it is like in the studio for the most part. Would I be correct in that assessment?
Yeah,
correct.
With some notable exceptions, but
I'll add that the thing that's great about this song is that, you know, you can really tell that this is a song that's being performed live and just kind of feels like a performance captured. Like the vocals aren't super clean and the instrumentation has a little bit of edge to it, but it's really fun. Like this feels like it's a KEXP session sort of captured directly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this one is one of the more tolerable ones, but again, I think.
Come on, man.
I mean, my frustration with this playlist.
This MF is wearing a tie-dye T-shirt on the Jam.
I know. I mean, I'm wearing it again in honor because I knew I had to. But like, this sounds like God. This sounds like a Christian rock song right now.
This chorus rocks. I forgot about this.
Sounds like, oh God. Anyways, my issue with this playlist for the most part, except for one song, is that I feel like I am not really getting anything emotionally out of this music. And if y'all clearly do, and I commend y'all, but this is a case where I feel like I felt like I was pretty open about jam band music before, but this kind of turned me off of it.
It happens, you know, like you either come in and you feel it all, or you go in and you're like, this fucking sucks.
Yeah.
And like, I get that polarization. That is precisely the reason why I have let Phish be a thing entirely within my imagination. Before this playlist, I had never heard a Phish song. I have now heard only 3 proper Phish songs. And I'm going to keep it that way forever. I'm not going to find any more about Phish. This is all my knowledge I'm going to hold, other than subscribe. I know somebody is going to call me psychotic in the comments sections for this, but I subscribe to Rob Mitchum's Phish criticism newsletter because I like the idea of reading about things I don't know about and just kind of learning the mythos of it without actually engaging in it myself. I find that to be just, like, it's fun to immerse yourself in the idea of a culture. And like for me, like greater jam band world beyond just like listening to old Dead recordings that I like is just like something that I will never probably firmly engage with in my own rights, but that I will always be like enamored by, because I'm just like, there's some dedication there, and I like that. That's what excites me about this stuff, is just somebody cares.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just wanted to add in the classic Jerry Garcia quote, like when just asked about Deadheads, he said, like Deadheads are like people who like black licorice. Like a lot of people hate it, but the people who like it, like really like it. And, I think that is really applicable. And, there's just something about it that if you have the specific type of brainworms, just allows you to just get so into it, like more than probably like any other type of, like any other band or type of music. Like no other band will have you listening to hundreds of different live shows and different variations and stuff, like outside of jam band music. It's just,
I feel like it's the only type of brainworms for, proper adults to an extent, because like all the other kinds of things like this are just like, you have to be a teenager to really get hyped on. You have to like start listening to this when you're a teenager.
Rose, you need to face the microphone.
Yes, sorry. You have to start. Sorry, I'm
sorry,
like, I'm very
the producer
tired
and me
like
kicked in. Again, look, you're not jamming. You're not jamming. You can't just go off on your own and go do your own thing.
Can we get Rose up? Rose is going to point at the producer.
Yeah. God damn it, Bear.
Rose up.
Bear, turn up the goddamn monitors.
Okay, so like, sorry, I've been like actively.
Let's restart the riff. Let's restart the riff. Let's go back. Sorry,
okay,
folks.
So
sorry, folks. So let's restart the riff.
Okay, apologies. I'm really fucking sleepy because like I woke up early today and had a weird morning vibe. So anyway,
also, you took your edible too early, apparently.
No, that's not as much an issue.
I'm like, end up in a ditch.
You never want to peek in the parking lot. That's a rookie mistake.
Well, that's not even the issue. Like, I'm at a cozy place right now where I can like speak. So please tell me what I was originally talking about, because I've got a bad memory.
Phish.
You're talking about Phish and Rob Mitchum and stuff.
Okay, so like I just like the devotion of things around these cultures of just like observing it in sort of an anthropological way, and I think that is why I can never fully engage with jam band music, because I get more out of it, just being an outsider than like actually engaging with it. But I like some of it, like we will get to it later, but I like the Harry Hood jam a lot. The Harry Hood jam is pretty good.
Oh baby.
Oh yeah.
However,
somehow the longest song on this playlist, when there should be much longer, but it's a good jam.
Anytime one of the Phish guys starts opening their mouths, I'm like not sold anymore. I don't like them as singers. I'm sorry.
I mean, it's mostly Trey who sings. Like,
Paige and Mike
it's almost
sing sometimes, but yeah, it's mostly Trey.
Sometimes, yeah. Let's hit the next one because it's an all-time classic.
All right, turn on your love light, Grateful Dead
from the Live Dead set.
The Live Dead recording, which is like maybe the Grateful Dead as we know them maybe don't exist without this record, because they did their studio records and they were fine and they were well received, but the Live Dead is a recording from a couple of their shows compiled together, and it compresses what's the best about the Dead, which is their freewheeling, unpredictable live shows. And this is one of their best songs. It's one of their best jams.
I don't like, whenever they start, there's a particular kind of riffing and jamming that they do on this and a couple other songs. Like, I can't recall the titles right now, but like You know the kind I'm talking about.
The Pigpen raps?
Yeah, just the Pigpen.
Yeah.
I can't take the Pigpen stuff. It drives me fucking insane. But like,
there's a Love Light. It's from like a New Jersey show where somebody gets on stage who's not in the band and starts rapping.
Mm-hmm.
It's like an early 70s New Jersey show. Like an East Rutherford, like a Rutgers.
The thing is,
Woodstock too.
I put Love Light on because, like, despite my dislike of the Pigpen stuff, like, the riff for this song is so fucking good that, like, I can't. I can tolerate literally anything when I hear that riff because I'm just like, ba 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 ba.
Yeah, the instrumental here is undeniable, and the drums are so good.
I think we should explain for the uninitiated. Pigpen is the vocals on this song, and he's also the organ. And he sadly passed away in 1973. He was the first of the original Grateful Dead members to stop being with them. So this is definitely a very specific era of the Dead. And Pigpen very much came from like a blues background versus like, Jerry was more of kind of like a bluegrass background. And, the other guys, like they were kind of trying to take it to more of like a psychedelic realm. And Pigpen always kind of stayed in that like blues like vibe, I guess. Yeah, go ahead.
The original configuration is basically half Jerry, half Pigpen, and then some Bob. And then once you lose Pigpen, Bob sort of steps up.
Oh, he steps up hard.
Then, yeah. I mean, then you get the Dead as you know it. But in their early days, they're really more of a like Americana blues adjacent band. With like, they just fucking go off on long solos like this, long explorations. But they're doing a ton of standards. They're doing a ton of blues rock covers. And I mean, they're crushing them all, but their original material is sort of what's carrying them.
I mean, God, just...
this is the one I like them. Out of the 3 Dead songs on this playlist, this is the one that I like the most, because at least it at least sounds like something that I would generally like. Because, again, it has that, Americana blues. Obviously, as we all know, I'm very Elvis pilled, so this sounds a lot, classic rock and roll.
What?
Here's the thing: everyone goes, "He's white."
When
in the movie, he never yells that he's white. He's always like, "He's white."
He's what? He's what?
It's very questioning. This is one I like the most, but that doesn't mean I liked it very much. It's too long. It's still like. Sleepy.
Look, if your complaint is going to be it's too long, you're never going to be a deadhead.
That's fine by me. I mean, whatever. I'm not, again, at this point, I'm not really open to being a deadhead, like...
You will. You've only been in LA for like 6 months. We'll get there.
A year. It's coming up on a year. Like a year at the
coming
end.
Up on a year?
Yeah, a year like...
You'll get there.
A year in like a week.
You just got to find the good drugs.
I think we all go to a Dead & Co show next summer. We got to go to Dodger Stadium. Yeah.
It's time to converge.
We the fucked up thing was Pitchfork this year was the same weekend as the New York shows, and I would have been at those otherwise. But
And me and Sarah, shout out to Sarah if she's listening, when she's not, because I know she doesn't listen to the podcast. But
she might listen to this one.
Maybe she will. But yeah, that was super fun meeting up with her, going to the City Field shows. It's just like it's an experience. I feel like even if you're not a jam band fan, I feel like you have to go to at least one Dead & Co. or Phish show in your life just to experience it. And the lot scene, I feel like that's something we need to touch on more as a crucial part of the jam band fandom is the lot scene. So like before shows, people just set up in the parking lots, and just sell T-shirts, sell drugs, sell beers, sell random little knickknacks. Like I know I got a Christmas tree ornament, dancing bear at a Dead & Co show. I think at the Rally show.
I've got a cool Dead & Co coaster here that my beer is in with my Goose koozie that I got at the Goose show.
Hell yeah.
Most of my house is jam band adjacent. I've got an entire loft upstairs dedicated to jam posters.
Yeah, I have that in my background. I changed it to just be this picture of the joint, but I specifically sat here so I could show off my 4 Dead & Co posters. and that's just like a fun part of, I feel like, the Grateful Dead experience. Like another thing that I just love about being a Deadhead is just like the iconography is just so great and so classic, of just the dancing bears and the Steely and everything. And it's just like people can take it to so many cool places with bootleg shirts and posters and everything. Like it's just like it's all very like allows people to be like super creative with it, and just the Dead's ability to like encourage that or turn a blind eye to people selling bootleg stuff. Like, I don't know, it's great.
It's rad, and that's part of the fun for sure. Like the sort of ironic consumerism of it, where it's like, we're all gonna buy stupid shit, get some funky tie-dye shirts that have like bootleg font and they're just like made for this show, for this night, are hella cool. Yeah,
and just like you're supporting these like random dudes and just that are just like going from like show to show, like paying for their gas so they can go to every show in the day.
Get a nice grilled cheese in the parking lot. Yeah,
grilled cheese, a burrito. Yeah, get some balloons.
Falafel. It's good stuff. Buying drugs, it's the easiest place in the world to find shrooms. Yeah, I mean, this is where this one picks up.
I mean, really just magical time, I'm gonna go to one of those shows one of these days, just as like a one-time experience, because I feel like
they'll probably do Charlotte on their next tour, because they didn't have any North Carolina dates on this tour.
Oh, sick!
So I drove up to Virginia.
Yeah, I'll consider it. I will absolutely. If we can do the link,
they did Raleigh and Charlotte on the 2021 tour, and I went to both of those shows, and they were sick.
Yeah. Thank you for the ride home from the Raleigh one. Still appreciate that.
Yep. Hit the hotel out the lot. It was raining. That was their first show back after the pandemic, which was wild. It was a good one.
I got super into the Dead during the pandemic. It was like really when I got like super into them. So like I made a promise to myself, I'm gonna go to the first Stand and Co show after, and it happened to be in Raleigh.
Hell yeah.
So
yeah, me too. The pandemic broke my brain, and I got really into the Grateful Dead and the critically acclaimed MMO JRPG Final Fantasy XIV Online, with a free trial up to the critically acclaimed Heavensward expansion.
Can't say I'm with you there, but I respect
it. I'm going to be honest, like, I'm barely keeping up with you here.
The jam band of video games.
Did you just wait, hang on, Final Fantasy XIV?
Yeah, the jam band of video games. No. You could do whatever you want with it. You never know what direction it's going to go. You could log on to do raids. You could log on to do extreme trials. You could go on to do fishing. You could go on to do whatever you want.
That's just all MMOs.
That's right.
MMOs are the jam bands.
Oh, no.
Let's get some Billy Strings, man. Let's move on.
All right.
But we had to listen to Pigpen tell you to stop, take your hand out of your pockets, I feel like. But, it's okay.
Y'all can listen for yourselves. Listeners, you want to do this, you can go do it yourself. Next song, Dust in a Baggie from Billy Strings, from the Billy Strings EP. What about this is jam band? Because I did not really get jam band vibes from
bluegrass
this.
Jam.
Yeah, so Billy's like an anointed successor of both Trey and the Dead. He's played with Bobby, he's played with Trey, and he's covered a ton of Phish songs. Covered a ton of Dead songs. Interpolates them really well into his songs. And like people in the jam scene understand that Billy Strings, which is mainly, one guy, but a 4-piece bluegrass, upright bass, mandolin, all that sort of stuff. Like an outfit, they fit very well into the jam band scene, where they, change the set list every live show, do a ton of covers, do a ton of long interpolated jams, and that sort of stuff, to the point where people are like, Billy should take over when Bob can no longer play, which I don't agree with, but I think he's got his own thing figured out. But he's great. I saw them live earlier this summer. They did 3 nights in Cary, North Carolina. And it's just super fun. Yeah, like, they're a jam bluegrass band, which would turn a lot of people off, but it's a super fun show.
Yeah, it's kind of like a new subgenre. I feel like that's a major point of like jam bands recently, is like jamgrass, and I feel like he's definitely leading it. And there's like kind of like Green Sky Bluegrass, and there's a few others out there, but he's definitely
Man, who is it? Shit. Keep going. Yeah, I'll figure him out.
Yeah, he's definitely. I feel like, in a way, like I feel like Billy Strings is kind of carrying on like the Jerry Garcia tradition, and like especially because like Jerry actually originally started out as a bluegrass guitar player, and then he started playing like rock and roll music literally because he saw the Beatles in like 1963 or something like that, and he's like, holy shit, like electric guitar music is pretty fucking cool. I'm gonna start doing that, and it's a lot easier than bluegrass. So he started a band. So I feel like
the Kitchen Dwellers was the band I was thinking of.
So I feel like Billy Strings is kind of like the continuation of that, and then like Goose, I feel like is kind of like the next Phish. I feel like in a way, like I feel like even though Billy's played with like Trey and stuff, I feel like they're kind of operating in like two different lanes. And we'll talk about Goose in a minute, but Billy is just an incredibly skilled guitar player, and like also is like really good
it's wild to watch them perform live. Yeah, it's one of the most impressive performances you'll ever see.
Mm-hmm. And this is certainly not like where he's jamming the most. Like we could have picked. I wanted to pick like a 12-minute.
That's their sort of
like
that's their most popular song, and it's one that the recording is barely 3 minutes long, but they've done versions of it that are 20 minutes.
Exactly.
Jesus Christ.
So we wanted to spare you, I guess.
And it rules. Yeah. Like Billy Strings is a name we're going to be hearing for a very long time. So that's why they're on this playlist for sure. Yeah, like they're going to play every festival. They're going to be on those circuits. He's probably going to sit in with a ton of these bands. They've already cemented themselves as a real legacy. Like I think he played like the Grammys this year, like on their pre-show stream or whatever. Like they've got a future. So it's important to talk about them.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll get to the other big band of the moment.
Yeah. We've got another Dead song up next from maybe the best show that's ever been recorded.
I'm surprised you didn't like this one, Matty. Or at least you liked it. I don't know.
Yeah, well, the thing that you talked about earlier is like...
I don't remember this one.
This is the Cornell 77 Brown Eyed Women. Brown Eyed Women is one of their most emotional songs, especially like the third verse maybe has some of their best lyrics, IMO. But Jerry's performance here is crazy. This whole show is so good. We don't have anything from Veneta, which we are recording this podcast on the eve of the 50th anniversary of the Sunshine Daydream concert. My favorite Dead song is Sugar Magnolia.
That's high up there in the tiers for me.
Yeah, the Veneta Sugar Magnolia is like one of the best recordings ever. But this show's great. This is the show that gets a lot of people into the Dead because it's all killer, no filler.
And I feel like this is when the Dead is playing at their tightest and not going into super spacey Dark Star jams, Like 77 is a year when the Dead, they rehearsed more than they ever had before because they literally got the producer for Fleetwood Mac's Rumors to produce their album from this year. And he whipped them in this shape basically. And said,
is it Mars Hotel this year?
Or no, this is,
which one is it?
Terrapin Station.
Oh, okay, yeah, great album.
Yeah, great album. But yeah, so I feel like this entire year is known just for being very tight, very clean, just great guitar solos and and also the shows I feel really showcase more what I think kind of puts the Grateful Dead apart from a lot of other jam bands is their amazing songwriting. And that's why I kind of pushed for this song to be included, because I think that's how the Dead kind of stand the test of time is that their lyrics for a lot of these songs are actually extremely well written, amazing stories of Americana, written by Robert Hunter, who's basically a part of the band.
Who's a poet who's basically writing a ton of these songs with Jerry. Yeah.
And he also later wrote out an entire album with Bob Dylan and stuff. He's just an incredible both psychedelic writer and then moving into their more Americana era from 70 to 74 when they were writing a lot of these songs. But I don't know, just combined with just amazing clean guitar playing. I'm talking over just one of my favorite solos ever. But
yeah, I'm looking at the set list for this show and it's wild. I think 72 is objectively the best year for the Dead, but there are some great shows from 77 to 78. And I really like a lot of the early the late 60s stuff. Like I like a lot of the 69 shows.
Nice.
But this is the period where they're just
There's actually literally a
firing on
great
all
show
cylinders.
on 4/2069. It has a great dark star. Look it up. Sorry.
Yeah, but Brown Eyed Women's one of their best songs. Like has potent lyrics, memorable lyrics, a good lick, usually a great solo, and transition into a lot of their best songs too. Yeah, so this is the verse that is like I think one of the more potent in their career. Again.
Yeah, so like it is age-old advice, but like if you are interested in actually getting really into the Dead, like there's not really a better starting point than Cornell. You have so many of the great, like well-written songs in the first set, and then like the Scarlet Fire, which like I really like. I wanted to almost include in this, but that's another like 25 minutes. Is just like pinnacle of their like 77 clean, precise jamming. Yeah, it's a great show. And the Morning Dew in this, yeah. You know, it's the most popular show for a good reason.
It's probably this or Vanita, right?
Yeah, I'd say
like
in
terms of people who would popular, sit down and listen to a whole show.
But I'd say like if you polled every Deadhead, I think they would say Vanita is the best show, which I agree with. It's my basic take.
Recently reissued Fox Theater in Matty's own St. Louis, Missouri is a great show too.
What year is that show?
The 71.
71, yeah. December 10th, 71.
I was trying to figure out like would my dad have been there? I didn't know he was 11 years old, so probably not.
It's a great St. Louis
one that
box
they
set from 71, 72,
they just reissued that one and it's incredible. A great Sugar Magnolia, great Bertha. Really
Bertha,
fun show.
That's a classic right there.
Yeah. If it's a Dead show named after a woman, or if it's a Dead song named after a woman, it's very good. Or has the word women in the title. Bertha.
Rose.
Sugary. Yeah. Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go Goose mode.
Mm-hmm.
And then there are a lot of conversations we can have in the Goose zone.
Because
this is an album that was released this year. This is I picked Hot Tea off of Dripfield. I wanted a Goose song on here. It's one of my favorite Goose songs. I think this version of it is bad, but that's important to talk about because it's one of their better live songs. And this is an important point to make that sometimes, jam stuff doesn't transition over into the studio. This one's really low tempo. I don't like the vocals on it. But Goose is incredible. Goose is really, really killing it right now. They're on an insane run this summer in terms of shows and covers that they're doing.
Yeah, and this band has generated, I think, the biggest controversy on the Phish subreddit since Gavin got mocked on Letterboxd for posting a half-star Phish concert film review and was harassed by Phish fans.
I just want a quick clarification of facts. I'm just looking at Goose's Spotify page. They only have 260,000 monthly listeners, which is a pretty good number. That's a pretty good number. But they're already playing Madison Square Garden and shit. Is that right?
They played.
I don't think they've done an MSG yet, but they did 3 Red Rocks nights in a row.
Okay,
they're doing
more
what's
it? Radio City.
Yeah, they did Radio City Music
Hall.
So
sold out a couple nights at Radio City.
They sold out 2 back-to-back nights at Radio City Music Hall, and they brought out Father John Misty and Trey as guests.
Oh, okay.
Which was that was their album release shows, which was essentially their coronation moment, where it was it's impossible to ignore this band. And I mean, they've really just they have exploded in the jam band scene. They're gonna be. A lot of people are
next Phish.
They're they should take over Dead & Co. Once Bobby's can't play anymore. They should take over Phish once Trey has played. And for both Goose and Billy Strings, I think they have already carved out enough of their own unique space where they won't, John Mayer joined the Dead because he was a huge fan of those songs and didn't want to tour as John Mayer all the time. And that makes sense. But these bands I think are just people are going to see them for 25 years to come already. So
yeah, they've got their own zone is the thing. Both of them.
I think both Billy and Goose are kind of set. And And I saw Goose earlier this year. They played in Raleigh. It was a crazy good show. They did a Spoon cover that was wild. They have national covers, Arcade Fire covers. They played with Father John Misty. So they're the sort of like them and Billy Strings, I think, are like on the same spectrum, but sort of farther apart, where Billy Strings kind of has the classical edge covered, and Goose really has the kind of modern iteration of a jam band figured out, and they kill it so good.
Yeah, and I think that's where we can get into the interesting discussion of like indie's adjacency to jam, especially as as the two have converged in recent years, because after all, this is like we are the Indieheads podcast. I feel like if there's anything to talk about with jam bands, it's this.
Yeah, so bands that I think, much like Goose and Billy Strings, have been adopted by jam band fans are like My Morning Jacket for sure, who do the like different set lists, tons of covers.
The National are kind of getting there.
The National are getting close. They have standard set lists, but they really like to freak it. I'm very curious to see what they do this tour, but
I feel like
We're on Drugs is a band who usually plays the same set list, but they do solos and interpolations where it's worth seeing them as much as you can. And those are like some of the, indie adjacent bands that really just go nuts with it.
I would say has gotten.
I mean, yeah.
I think almost like the biggest in terms of like people that I see posting on like Goose subreddit or Billy Strings subreddit or Phish subreddit saying, "Oh my God, check out this indie band," is actually like King Gizzard. I feel like they also just. I know they're not.
But that's a nerd band.
Space I know they're the most popular band on this podcast or whatever, but they fully like they do have like they have unique set lists every night. They like jam out some songs. They have released live albums and stuff.
Yeah, I will say the one time I saw them, and I will probably never see them again, like, it was kind of sick. Like, they busted out this 10-minute song in the middle of it, and you could just feel them, like, locking into something. Like, it was...
I mean, even Black Midi sort of has a thing where it's like...
Well, they for a while...
The versions of the songs that they play usually sound different, and they'll do funky covers and stuff, so... There's always been a big overlap between prog and jam, and Black Midi is continuing that tradition.
Yeah, and Black Midi like very explicitly went into like pre-prepared jam stuff during like the late Schlag era, where they were just like, like they had a pre-packaged box of riffs they were drawing from every time they jammed, but like they would find new circuitous ways to get between them, and like you would hear like primordial stuff of like Sugar Zoo buried in those jams, like things like that. It's like there are bands these days are very clearly taking from the toolkit of jam without like trying to dip their toes into the actual waters of it. I think that's very interesting to look at. It's just like seeing contemporary music finally react to this very prevalent thing that we just can't ignore.
Like honestly, I feel like Big Thief, I like saw them this spring. I feel like they're almost getting indie jam adjacent. Like,
yeah, they got like pretty different set lists every night. There's some similarities, but
and like I don't know, like they jam out not for like 10 minutes. Like I feel like that's probably the closest they get. But like I don't know, there's a little bit of jam in there.
Yeah. So this song, I mean, to get back to Goose in particular, this song, this is my favorite song on the playlist. It weirdly enough, like I definitely hear the jammier aspects, but it also reminds me a lot of like the 2010s soul revival stuff like
I mean like Goose is super Khruangbin adjacent.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was like my first thing.
Like I love Khruangbin. I think they're great, but they sort of do that thing where it's like, look, their music's good to listen to, but what they're doing is not super original. And that's kind of how I feel about Goose, which is just like, they're super talented. They're incredible performers. I think their vocalists are really good, but it's like, their style, they did not revolutionize anything. I think Drip Feel is an incredible album. Someone in the subreddit or the Discord was talking about how it's like a great headphone listen, and it's just really well produced. Like these guys know what they're doing. They're great. And I think even though Hot Tea is one of my favorite Goose songs, this version of it is, I think, really bad. Hunger Sight, Arrow,
the song Drip Field. It's great.
Yeah, pretty much pretty much everything on this album is better than Hot Tea. A little faster, a little more up tempo, but they're a great band. They're really, really good.
I went to the Denver show that is released on Spotify last year. Great show. And I also saw them at Red Rocks where they did Blood Buzz, Ohio, which was pretty sick. I feel like about 10% of people in the audience knew the song. And I was like, hell yeah. Like, I don't even like the National that much, but I like that song. Probably just because I listened, like XMU played that Into the Dirt, like whenever that came out. But, and that was when I listened to XMU a ton, but it was sick.
Yeah, like Peter's a great singer, and everyone in the band, they've got 2 drummers, which is essential for a jam band.
Which King Gizzard also has 2 drummers. Bring it back to them.
Oh, used to. I don't think they have to. Yeah, not anymore.
Just like the Dead, they had 2 drummers, and then Mickey Hart got kicked out because his dad absconded with bread, and then
I'm doesn't show up on my thing. I'm drinking out of my Goose koozie right now. Drinking a 2-hearted IPA.
Do we want to move on to our next song? Do we have a little more on Goose? And
no, let's transition into the Phish zone. I hit the points I wanted to talk about in that one.
Yeah, this is this playlist is already pretty torturous. This is the moment where it's like, I'm like, when is this gonna fucking end? I
think this is gonna be the first time ever that we have an episode shorter than the podcast it's based on. Like, what are we at right now? The podcast, the playlist is 92 minutes.
Right, 1 hour, 10 minutes.
We've done an hour. Yeah. I feel like we're gonna get very close because there's not this is the Clifford Ball Harry Hood jam, which after the initial, so they play the song and then they do a 15-minute jam, 16-minute jam.
I feel like the last 3 minutes of this are just the audience applause, which is kind of funny for listening to it on a playlist.
Yeah.
But
There is a 12 LP Clifford Ball box set that I've been so tempted to buy for the past year. It's $400, but it's this whole show, which is 5 hours long.
When you buy V-Bucks in Fortnite, this is what your money goes to, everybody.
That's right. You help me buy Phish vinyl.
I did buy so at the Clifford Ball, they had a famous jam on the back of a truck.
On the back of a truck, and they pressed that to vinyl.
I bought that.
Oh, that's sick.
I didn't buy the full box set. I'm like, I can at least pull the trigger on because it's just 1 LP.
Truck. That fucking bit from Dear Evan Hansen, the lady just saying truck over. That's what I'm imagining.
I don't know what you're talking
about. There's a bit in Dear Evan
about?
Hansen where the mom sings a song and she says truck a lot in this very menacing tone.
Tactics.
Nicole Kidman?
I don't know the fucking actor's name. I've never seen that movie. But I know.
I think isn't Nicole Kidman the mom in that movie?
I think it's Julianne Moore.
Natalie will know what I'm talking about.
Julianne Moore.
Yeah, Julianne Moore.
Natalie, write in.
This song fucking sucks. Gavin, I mean, basically this last 2 years of podcasting.
Yeah, this
all
is
the
for
series
Gavin.
I do with Gavin, it's just I increasingly question his music taste. This is a guy who consistently calls me a fucking nerd for liking Black Midi and shit. Which here's the thing, I want to make a stake a claim because we haven't talked about Black Midi yet because we're not anywhere near.
We literally
did talk about Black Midi. Yeah, you just weren't listening.
So.
Wait, Wait, no, I meant Black Midi on we haven't talked about the new album yet. I'm well, I guess
okay.
Yeah, because we have not done a Q3 episode yet because it's not Q3.
We talked about their live set.
Yeah, I was gonna. It's not that different point. It's I don't even fucking like the new Black Midi album. Why are you claiming me as this Black Midi fan?
Coward.
You want to get on someone about nerd music and new music and shit? Get on Jackie. Jackie's the.
You just don't like that they say slurs in the new album.
Actually, that's the best song. That's actually the best song on the album. Eat Me Eat's the best song on the album.
No, that is the worst.
It is the best song on the album.
That is the worst song on the album.
No. Yeah. Cameron's gay, so it's cool.
Oh, okay.
He does drop the F slur.
Oh, God. Anyways, yeah, this was... this is fucking brutal. This is brutal. The other stuff, there's at least some moments where it's okay, I can kind of lock in on something, or it's pleasant enough at times. This is Phish, Grateful Dead. Grateful Dead. I don't want to hate him too much. My dad loves the Dead. He talks about Jerry Garcia in a lot of reverence. I remember one time I took him to go see St. Vincent, and we were talking after the show, on the drive home. He was just man, back in my day, Jerry Garcia, you get on stage, you just rip on that guitar, and just spoke with such reverence and nostalgia. It's like I don't want to ruin that for my dad. But this is a case where it's like the only person when I dunk on Phish, the only person that I'm hurting is Gavin, and I'm totally happy with that. If anything, I'm more than happy to dunk on a band that Gavin likes, because it's Gavin, and I hate him. I hate him so much.
Gavin
He's not on this podcast because he had his tummy hurts and he has COVID-19. He can't be on this episode.
We don't know for certain. He's only taking a test. Let's not be mean to him in case he is suffering.
Well, again, why is he not here? He knows when this pod was going to happen. I don't know.
Gavin said, I'm going to be on the Jam Band podcast. And then Gavin, my tummy hurts. He couldn't be here.
Again,
I would simply not contract the novel coronavirus, Like, if I knew I had this cool podcast coming up, I would just not do that.
But nevertheless, this is fucking brutal. Cannonball, you get a little bit of a taste of their Phish's brand of jam band rock, where at least it feels like Grateful Dead and whatnot. There's they're kind of, you can kind of, even if it doesn't always pay off for me personally, you do feel like they're kind of building to something. This is just nonsense. This is just complete nonsense. I don't feel like they're building to anything. It's like five guys playing different songs pretty much, and it's occasionally they'll converge, but it just doesn't fucking work. And then I think the cherry on top, which I'm just gonna skip towards the end of this because fuck the song. Oh wait, here we go. Oh yeah,
Harry.
Yeah. I assumed it was the last minute or two was just people cheering. It's the last 4 fucking minutes of the song on this. It's just people fucking cheering.
They released it because it was the last song of the set, and there was the encore. They're not going to cut out people cheering. You got to have the full concert experience.
You cucking.
Yeah, Matty, you clearly do not understand how to appreciate a live experience. Yeah. You got to take in the ambiance.
Sorry, everything's not perfectly studio meticulously
Sorry
played
that everything is so blurry and everything is so messed up.
And everything is so fucked up.
I hated this.
Sorry that the Jamflowman don't give a damn.
Yeah, you literally don't give a damn is the problem.
A Jamflowman
plays
don't
the
give a
and the
damn.
quickest hands in the land.
Jesus Christ.
If I'm gonna go up against the Jamflowman, I think I'm gonna just do something. I'm gonna make the Jamflowman get into a car accident and ruin his hands like Dr. Stephen Strange.
That's fucked up.
That's
how he makes
that
his livelihood. That's the only thing he has to do.
He can find something else to do. He can get a job, get a new job.
Matty, do you see how this country treats the disabled?
Go to college for coding. Go to college for coding, Jamflowman.
Joe Biden would never forgive the Jamflowman student loans.
No, we're putting all the debt on him. It's all the student loans.
This implies the Jamflowman went to college.
Oh, that's
right.
Yeah,
the Jamflowman don't give a damn.
He learned what he needed to know on the streets.
Yeah, he learned from the world. He's a world.
Let's listen to the last 80 seconds of this playlist, Matty.
Yeah,
in complete reverence and silence.
Yeah. So after this song ends, it's people fucking cheering. It just feels like it's going on forever, and then so we'll just do a transition. This last
one more song in the playlist.
A little Easter egg, kind of like the post-credit scene in a Marvel Cinematic Universe film.
Who's gonna
it's
show
the
up?
Encore.
Yeah.
It's fucking cheering. It's just endless.
I hope I don't hear 4 white men doing an acoustic.
We still have 20 seconds, guys.
They're white.
They're white.
Which, by the way, if you want to hear the Indieheads podcast thoughts on Elvis, well, Elvis is coming to HBO Max on September 2nd, and we may or may not be doing a commentary track.
We're gonna do a commentary?
Yes.
Oh my god, that movie's 3 hours long.
Yeah.
Hello, my ragtime gal.
I mean, really, how else do you end this? I thought long.
So they did this a lot in the 90s.
I thought long and hard about how I wanted to end this playlist, and I decided the only thing we could do was tear it all down. We had to take it down to the roots.
Yeah, so this playlist ends with a fucking Phish doing a goddamn barbershop quartet. Just one of the worst kinds of fucking music. I hate barbershop quartets. I love the Beach Boys. I love Pet Sounds. I love the Smile Sessions.
Matty is a goddamn
I love
Beach
great
Boys
vocal harmonies.
poser.
Marty
This
Monroe
shit-
has been caught capping on
This
pod.
shit sucks. I hate this.
Poser.
Because at least the Beach Boys, there is no irony to them doing their great vocal melodies. There is like a sense of irony and like just a little wink to the audience that I fucking hate and I despise.
The thing about Phish is they rock, they're cool, and they have fun.
You have a little fun. I think the best part about this
I hate fun. I hate fun. The only fun I like is the band Fun with a period at the end.
Wow, you've made poor choices here.
Yeah, so that's
going to take over.
That's it. That's the playlist. We're done. That's it. I'll let y'all cook some final thoughts up because I will give y'all that.
So we're gonna take it from the 4, and then I think we can kind of spool out, and really like land on a good ending.
Yeah, we've got at least 30 minutes left to go on this episode.
I feel like if we start from where we ended our previous jam, we can really go. So I was poison. I was poison. I was poison. I was poison. We just all simultaneously decided we got to play like the AC/DC "You Shook Me All Night Long" riff.
No.
Just something incredibly stupid to wave us out.
I mean, so no final thoughts. No any. I mean,
it's the best music known to man. Yeah, Matty's a hater. It's the most important episode we've ever done.
I don't know if my opinion could really be enhanced on this any further. However, I am more convinced than ever that Matty is just a fucking hater. We can all agree on that. That Matty is a hater.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I love being a hater.
He said at the beginning of this episode he had an open mind. He said he probably would have said, I wanted to like it. But here's the thing. That's the classic hater's gambit, okay? The haters will always
I try to have an open mind when I asked you guys what the appeal of this music is for you,
it's good.
I'm not hating on y'all. I'm not hating on y'all. I'm hating on the songs. I'm hating on the songs.
You're gonna be like, I wanted to like it. No, you didn't. You're a hater.
You know what I think it really boils down to is I think you just have daddy issues. I think your dad is really into Grateful Dead, so you can't enjoy them. It's something deep down in your psyche that we have to analyze a little bit further.
You've got to unlock the mentality that'll let you finally connect with your father and listen to the Grateful Dead.
I think your dad is the Jamflowman.
I think it is entirely possible,
Have you guys seen
Marty Monroe, son of the Jamflowman?
I'm not gonna. I mean, obviously, no one. Again, this is an audio podcast, so no one. Again, I'm gonna pull up a photo of my dad really quick for everybody, so you can guys see what my dad looks like.
Damn, baby.
He doesn't have Facebook, of course, because he's smart. No Facebook for my dad.
He doesn't want Joe Brandon to vaccinate him.
He's out on tour.
He's actually pretty pro-vaccine. My dad was actually he was about to get the booster before he got COVID back in November.
Shout out, getting that double cup. Got that double cup.
Unlike my mom, my mom is she does not want to get boosted at all. She's again that's something that's not for this podcast. But my mom's got stuff. Oh, here's my dad right here on the right. There's my dad.
Oh, yes, sir.
That's the Jamflowman.
He loves Budweiser.
That's right. He Michelob Ultra.
He likes a real stiff drink and a big old bag and a spliff to think.
I don't know if I've ever seen I don't think my dad does not smoke weed, which surprised me. Either he keeps it very secret.
He smokes weed. Come on, man.
I mean, yeah, I think he definitely was I looked at old photos of my dad. My dad was a fucking stoner. He bounced around 3 or 4 different colleges. My dad was definitely getting stoned every single fucking day of his life in college. But yeah, I don't get this music. I don't know if I ever will. I thought I was gonna, again, Rose. I genuinely thought I was gonna be open to this, but upon listening to the playlist, I was just no.
You do.
No, you're a cuck. You're a coward. You're washed.
I feel like this year has been a very illuminating year where I feel like I'm really locking in my own music taste. For better or worse, I'm locking in my own music taste. I feel like I have a really solid idea of the stuff that I like the most and the stuff I really connect to.
Yeah, and it's
so
all bad.
I feel like my opening for liking jam band music has closed for the time being. I can't again, I can't say it's gonna be closed forever. That I can't guarantee that. But for right now, my gates are closed for jam band love. It's just not for me. Happy for y'all. I'm glad this is something you're all really passionate about. Again, I sound like I'm joking, but genuinely you guys have found a really strong community here. It seems like, there's a lot of reverence and a lot of
It's all peace and
discussion.
love.
Yeah.
Peace and love.
And light.
It just seems like,
Yeah,
again,
no hate. We're not threatening anybody.
I really do strongly appreciate the community that you guys have found with this. Like, it just seems like everyone is like really cool and happy and chill, and like, everyone's having a good time, and I appreciate that. It's just not for me. It's not for me. That's all I gotta say.
Believe it if you need it. If you don't, just pass it on. That's all I gotta say.
That's right.
Yeah. What's everyone's worst weed trip? I feel like everyone's gotten way too high before and just had like a bad time.
Okay, you know what?
What's your story?
Let me tell the story, and also while I'm doing that, let me pull up this image on my phone because it is.
I'll do mine quick. I feel like I talked about it before. I took an edible at the Bon Iver's Eau Claire Music Festival in the woods. That I brought back from LA that I visited for E3 in 2019, and it was 100 milligram gummy that was supposed to be cut into quarters, but I didn't realize that, so I ate the whole thing, and I got so high that I experienced 24 hours of my entire life passed out in a tent over the course of like 30 minutes, and I came out and I was like, I'm so sad I missed the whole festival, and they're like, you were in there for 30 minutes, and I was like, damn, that's crazy.
Okay, so I'm gonna tell the story of the very first time that I got like properly high. Like, I'd taken one hit of a joint before that, and like I got a like tiny little buzz, but that was nothing. That was literally like, it lasted 5 minutes. I was just like, oh yeah, I should probably try more of that sometime. So back in college, I worked in a little garbage radio station that just really was not. It was not a real radio station because we had 0 listeners, and it was like online radio, and you had to intentionally try to tune in if you ever wanted to hear our station. But we kept on it anyway, and I had a boss who was like, he was like a guy who was like, so like all the bosses at the radio station were like really into like Joyce Manor emo.
All right, my kind of people. My kind of people.
It was like the dominant strain of Charleston's like DIY scene was like Joyce Manor emo revival worshippers, and I just like didn't get it at all. But like one evening my boss was just like, hey, I'm having a party where we're hosting, like, it was like a Halloween party or something, and they were like hosting like local bands or something, and that like a couple of evenings before he was just like, hey, informally I am selling edibles here at the party. And so I was just like, okay, I've never tried these drugs before, so I'm going to buy like a good pile, and if like I don't like it, I can share with my friends. And so I bought 3 of his cookies, I think. I took like 3/4 of one. He told me like, hey, you should only take half, because I took a full one and then went to go see Earl Sweatshirt, and I was like literally glued to the barricade for the entire show, were his words. And so I took 3/4 of one and then gave the entirety of the remaining 1 1/4 to my 3 friends, and we went on a wonderful, wonderful journey where I felt like I was going to die on a mattress. And then one of my friends, whose name I will redact here on air, wrote a poem called Glizzy Glass Slays. It's so important to me. It makes no sense.
The Glizzy Gozzler?
No, this was years before that came around, that terminology.
Oh, damn.
This was just something inspired. This was like clearly like a teenager who was tried weed for the first time, but I kind of love the energy of it. Glazed donuts, glow up. Glazed donut in my turnips. Don't grow up. Grant me soy no pops. Glazed donuts, ho ho ho. Sloots toot toot. That is the poem. It's beautiful.
Wow.
I think about it every day. It's just that is like such inspired brain right there.
Mm-hmm. Jack, what's your story? What's your got too high story?
So, I feel like I have a lot of them, but I just remember like the first time I got like way too high was all hanging out at one of my friend's house, like who had a pool, and it was like one of those classic moments in high school where there's all those guys and girls and you're in the pool, woo, and then like one of my friends had some edibles. I'm like, okay, that sounds fun. I've like maybe taken a few hits off weed before, but I'll try a couple of these edibles, and then just I feel like almost like impossibly too quickly just got like very stoned. And I just remember at one point like people going up to me like, oh yeah, like you're not like feeling anything, right? And just like that phrase just like echoed in my brain for like 15 minutes. Like, you're not feeling anything, right? You're not feeling anything. And it just like I have a very like vivid core memory of me just like standing in the corner of the pool. Everybody else is like having fun drinking macro brews and just like trying to hold on to reality. So but I think eventually I just went inside and like watched like Planet Earth and to calm myself down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's see. I've got two of them. One is a story I've already said in the podcast, so I'll keep it short. Jackie invited me to my first underground rave in Los Angeles, California. I went to her house. She gave me, I don't even think it was a lie. I think it might have been like maybe 30 milligrams, but my weed tolerance.
Come on.
It wasn't a lot, but my tolerance, my again, I mean, as some of the people in the Pitchfork Airbnb know, my weed tolerance is very low these days. I have very low weed tolerance. I used to have pretty high tolerance when it came to weed, but now it's like I used to have a very low alcohol tolerance and then high weed, but now that's like flip-flopped in recent years. But
I've like had a very similar problem specifically with alcohol where like I used to have like really high tolerance, and I think it's mostly just the hormone thing because like it's shot way down.
Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, I used to have very high tolerance, and then Jackie gives me like basically too high of a dose of edibles for someone who does not smoke or consume weed that much, and then I proceeded to go to this underground rave, and I felt like a GTA 5 NPC the entire time. I was just like trying to form thoughts in my head, but my thoughts were like, it was like I was making up my own language that I didn't understand.
Feel that.
I wrote a very sad notes app thing about my now ex-girlfriend. It was at times very fun, other times very bad. And then my next one, this is probably the most high I've ever gotten. I was at a friend's birthday party. We went to a place to get drinks, and then afterwards he's like, hey, we should head back to my place and smoke and kind of chill out and play
smoking on a pie bus,
play like Jackbox or something. And I was like, all right, sweet. So I drank too much, so I didn't want to drive there, so I hitched a ride with my friend, and then his friend decided, he brings out a fucking dab rig, like a banana themed dab rig, and I hit a dab for the first time, and I felt like the flattened girl in the drug PSA. I felt like that for like 2 hours. The first half an hour or so, which was just like miserable. It was just like I was just like drifting in and out of sleep. I was just completely like, again, it helped. Again, I had drank a little bit before then, so like those two things compounded were just awful, and I hated it. And I like, it took me 2 or 3 hours to like fully recover and be like, okay, like I can drive myself home, I think, which I did, and I was safe. It's all good. But yeah, those are 2 times where I got too high and I just didn't have a good time. And I think I've basically like sworn off weed at this point, especially after Pitchfork Fest, because I just, again, that's what Pitchfork Fest taught me. This like that weekend, I was just like, you know what? I don't like weed. I don't like the way it makes me feel. I just get too in my own head. I like alcohol. Brings my inhibitions down. It's perfect. Like it. So
maybe this is why you don't like jam band music.
It might honestly, that is honestly a pretty strong key of why I don't like jam band music, is that I don't like weed anymore. Like, I'm not joking. I think that's a very strong, like a strong point against jam band music for me. Again, who knows? Again,
you gotta find the right indica, bro.
Which it's very funny.
Have you tried this strain?
It's crazy, bro.
I just to say it's very funny and ironic that the again, like, I learned that I don't like weed like the moment I moved to fucking California, the weed capital of the fucking United States.
Profit on a burning shore.
Capital of the United States. No, there you go.
That's it. That's my weed story.
What a beautiful time.
Yeah.
We did it, guys. We made it over the amount of time we needed to.
Yay.
It's officially longer.
Okay, there we go. Jam Band episode 2 coming tomorrow night. Everybody get excited. We'll see you tomorrow in the same lot.
I think tonight
we're going to have a 90-minute improv riff.
3-night run, we're just kind of getting the jitters
night
out.
3, I think we can finally do Game Henge. I think it's finally time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're going to do a 35-minute riff on that night. It's going to be crazy. You got
Wilson
the hits tonight.
Colonel,
that's right.
All right. Well,
famous Mockingbird.
That wraps up the episode. Thank you, Jack, so much for coming on the pod finally. Anything you want to plug before we do our little outro here?
You guys should subscribe to the subreddit Indieheads. We cover indie music from all the coolest new bands. I think
we talk about LCD sound system.
We're going to discuss wet leg some more, guys.
Cool.
I feel like that's what this podcast has been dying for, is more wet leg.
Wet leg is so good.
All right, so do you guys know this band, The Strokes?
Yeah, they're good.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like their last album, The New Abnormal,
did not get enough critical acclaim.
I feel like
not got enough critical acclaim. I feel like it should have won a Grammy.
I will not be on another podcast for a while, so thank you for letting me indulge this particular set of Matty torture.
God.
For something to go out on for a while, this felt like a good choice, and I think I made the right choice. And I will probably be on like one episode in the next like 3 months, but like other than that, I'm going to disappear for a while because I'm working on a very indulgent personal project that I'll probably plug like 20 times on this podcast.
Larry.
Music make you lose control. Music make you lose control.
You will know because I will return with a grand triumph.
Well, again, our next episode, we're getting very quick. We're quickly approaching episode 200, which we'll have we've got something special planned, which I actually probably need to start like working on getting some of that stuff planned for the pod. But anyways, next week's episode. So originally, the episode next week, at least in the original schedule we had, was going to be a sequel to a very beloved podcast episode. But next week we're doing a sequel. It's not the one that we were planning on, but it is a sequel to another beloved episode. It's the same fucking song again to me, Grant, Natalie, maybe Gavin, and another special guest. We will once again be looking at songs, sequel songs, essentially. So, it's the same fucking song again too. Grant has put together another playlist for us, and I'm very excited to record that episode. I love the first one. It was so much fun. Because of that episode led us to Chubby Checker and therefore the Big Bopper and all that jazz. So I'm excited to see what kind of 50s rock and roll guys we obsess over next. So very excited for the episode. And then after that, we got another Dave Grohl episode, and of course, episode 200. We'll find out what it is. So it's just I'm very, very excited. So that episode 200, we might have a lot of guests on that episode. We've got a lot of stuff planned. So yeah, that is about it. Hopefully you all enjoyed this week's episode. We will see y'all next week for It's the Same Fucking Song Again too. And bye-bye everybody.
You didn't ask me if I have any plugs.
Oh, AJ, what plugs do you have?
Play Fortnite. We got Goku on the island.
I got back.
Give me your V-Bucks.
I will say I took a break from Fortnite for a little bit. I've been getting back in the past couple weeks. It's a lot of fun still. I think like
the Goku event is great.
It's pretty great. Yeah. My friend was asking me like what's been your favorite season of Fortnite, and I was like, I think just like this season right now, really like basically this chapter so far has just been really good. Like the game is
the vibe in season. Yeah, the vibe in season's kicking ass.
The game has never felt better than it does right now.
Many people are saying Fortnite has never been better than it is right now.
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like this is the best
I
game's
haven't
been.
played Fortnite, but you know what I can say? I can say it's never been better than it is right now. That's what I'm hearing.
Facts.
That's right.
What are you gonna add, Jerry? I think Jerry needs to be one of the guys you can play as. We're
working.
I feel like there's a character, like there's a skin that looks like Jerry. Isn't there like a
there's
Jerry
a whole
Seinfeld?
There's a whole
what's the deal?
What's the deal with that?
I feel like
there's a whole wave of tie-dye characters that have tie-dye hoodies. Yeah, there's the hippie skin too.
Yeah,
far out, man.
This is not Jerry.
That looks more like Lemmy than Jerry.
That's like Woodstock. Yeah. Look up like the hippie girl with the tie-dye girl.
Is Donna?
There's tie-dye girls in Fortnite. Yeah. No, they just have tie-dye hoodies. Like these are a lot. We didn't talk about that. We didn't have any good.
That's why we need to do 3 sets.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're coming back for night 2.
When's the Grateful Dead? I can make a playlist 2 hours long, 3 hours long, just all Grateful Dead things. I think we should do that tomorrow.
Yeah, there's a whole wave of Fortnite characters that are just tie-dye hoodies.
Make him edit that.
Anyways,
if you want to be Jerry Garcia's doing a Fortnite live concert like Travis Scott.
Shit.
He's kill a million people.
He's nominated for best metaverse performance at the MTV
We brought
Awards.
him back. That's right.
Oh, Jesus Christ. All right, all right, that's our episode. Thank you all for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Goodbye.